song we played at Ash Wednesday service, this Mormon Tabernacle Choir, where love is, there God is. I love that. I love that idea. So we're talking about the way of the heart, living a heart-centered life. And for me, what this is an invitation to allow our heart to be the way we show up in the world. It's sort of a holy assignment for our humanity. To move out of this head-centered way of being in the world and to step into the path of whatever, like Linda said, however it shows up. I love it that we're working today with this idea, the way of the heart, because even though our beautiful friend Diane, who put together this wonderful event for us, is always asking us, where's your schematic? Where's your schematic on this, Judy and Glenda? And we go, we don't do schematics. What I know about it is that even though some parts of life require schematics, and Diane knows this very well, parties require schematics, and the way of the heart does not. It does not require a schematic, because the way of the heart is about just being present with the isms of the experience. See, it's a moment-by-moment thing, and what I know is it's uncharted territory. You're not going to be able to see a map that says, oh, this is the way of the heart. This is how you do it. If you do this, this will be the way of the heart. You should do it this way. This is a how-to. It's not a prefabricated idea. It emerges. That's why I picked this image, this pen with all of these hearts. You see, the idea is that the heart, the way of the heart-centered path, shows itself moment by moment by moment, depending on what's happening in the experience. And so when we make a choice to live our humanity at this place, from this level of the heart, not at the level of the head always, and don't get me wrong, we gotta think things through. I'm not saying never think, right? But I'm saying that when you respond to life circumstances, if we have a choice and choose to live from a heart space, then everything that goes on shows up a little bit different. It's an on-the-spot practice. We get to practice it, and then we practice it again, and we're never done finding our way when we are talking about the way of the heart. It's a continual process. Like Glenda said, it's a journey. And so for me, this idea of recognizing that this is an ongoing journey is a recognition that each and every one of us has a holy assignment to be aware that we are the activity of the allness of God expressing all the time, through everything we say, everything we do, everything we be. That's our job. That's our job as a human being, to bring our humanity and our divinity together so that when we show up, we're bringing forth the very highest, most refined quality of this divine heart-centered way of being in the world. And so I was thinking, well, what is that, what do these sages tell us about this? Oh, I love it. I hear that baby back there. Welcome, London and Luna. Welcome, Adolfo. Awesome. Can't wait to see that baby. So I looked to the sages for clues and pointers and ideas and guidelines. So if my job is to be the best human being that I can be, what are some of the potentials? What are some of the ideas? How can I live that in the world? What are some of the markers that help me move in that direction? And so I was thinking about the words that are heard so often in wedding ceremonies and in the Christian tradition. And I'm just doing a little paraphrasing here because the word that is used is love is. But I'm saying the way of the heart is patient, it's kind, it doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it's humble, and it's not proud. And I thought, oh, I can work on that. So these are some ideas of what does it look like to show up from a heart space. It looks like patience, kindness. It looks like not envying, not that, whatever that is. Not being boastful, prideful, having a sense of humility and humbleness about this human condition. And what I realize is it takes a lot of courage to live from that place. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to make everything my friend so that I can actually show up patient, so that I can show up kind. Because sometimes when I look at the way my life shows up, it feels more like it's being an enemy to me, and I don't want to bring kindness and patience to that thing, whatever that thing is. But if I really want to make my human journey the way of the heart, I have to learn, how do I live from heart space all of the time? So I looked at the qualities and I thought, okay, I'm going to talk about a couple of these qualities that are very meaningful to me in my own life and that I try to work on as often as I can. So I looked at this idea of patience. What does this idea of patience as a way of the heart look like for me? And what I found out as I was kind of thinking about this is patience for me is taking time. It's slowing down. It's going with the flow. It's waiting. It's not pushing the river. It's not rushing through life, and it's not hurried. And so I thought, oh, that's the work of Eckhart Tolle. That's presence. Patience is presence. It's being fully present. When I love what one of the authors says. It says, when we're not patient, we're forgetting our soul. We're forgetting our divinity. We're rushing through life and we're leaving that piece out. We're forgetting it. It's always there. We're just not in touch with it, you see. This patience is warm, it's tender, it's loving, it's easy, it's soft. This is what patience is. And this is a quality of living from heart space, you see. And part of this is, it's an I-thou relationship with all of life. The divinity in you, the divinity in you, the divinity in me. It's the namaste. The divinity in me greets the divinity in you. The divinity in me greets the divinity in the tree, in the bird, in the new boxer puppy, in all of it. You see, the divinity that I'm aware of greets life in that way and sees it as a thou, a holy sacred thou, not as an it. See, the its are up here. The its, the objects, the things are up here. The heart space knows it as a sacred thou. That's where the heart space is. And what I know is that in my life, and I know it's true in your life too, there are people who are champions at pushing our buttons so that our patience is tried. Yes? We got to deal with people that we consider to be just a nuisance. Just a nuisance, yes? And part of this, I love what one of the authors tells us. When we're talking about patience and the heart space, and this really resonated with me. When I'm not patient, I'm not in rhythm with what's going on. Does that make sense? I'm out of rhythm with what's going on. Wait, this beat doesn't match my beat. It doesn't feel right. I'm not resonating with this. And all of a sudden, I feel kind of violated and impatient with the rhythm of things. Think about the traffic. Think about waiting in lines. Think about when, these people that are nuisances in your life get your attention, see? And so when we can actually say, wait a minute, I'm out of rhythm with this experience, take a breath, breathe into it, and recognize that, it's easier then to get patient with it. I love the story of Gurdjieff, great spiritual teacher. He says, and he has a teaching story. It's a wonderful story. He had a community, a spiritual community where he did his teaching. And there was one old guy, he had about 30 students at the time, one old guy who was such a crabby nuisance. Nobody liked him. He was unhappy. Every place he went was, talk about field of energy. It was not very resonant. He was just crabbed up. And he couldn't get along with anybody. So finally one day he said, I've had it. I'm leaving. And everybody in the community said, great, go. Well, when Gurdjieff got back, Gurdjieff wasn't in residence at the time. He was someplace else. When he came back, he said, hey, where's Mr. Krabby Head? And they're all going, well, he left. Well, Gurdjieff was furious. And he went to Paris to find the guy and tried to convince him to return. And so you know how he convinced him? He says, I'll pay you. You don't have to pay me to be your teacher anymore. I'll pay you to come back to the spiritual community. And when he brought the guy back to the spiritual community, everybody in the entire community was furious with Gurdjieff for bringing this crabby head back, into the environment. And this is what Gurdjieff said, and I want you to hear this because I think this is important for all of us. He says, Gurdjieff said to his students, "Without him here, you would not understand the meaning of patience, of loving kindness, and of compassion. You would not understand how to deal with your own anger. You pay me to teach you, and I pay him, old Mr. Crabbyhead here, to assist me." This is the deal. These, like Brenda said, these things that come into our awareness are here for us so that we can bring that heart-centered awareness to whatever that thing is, you see. The other quality that I can relate to is this idea of kindness. This showing up in life as a tender being. Tenderness. This intimate, gentle, accepting kindness. This soft energy of being present with life. This way of bringing forth our heart. The Dalai Lama says, my religion is kindness. It's all it takes. Undefined kindness, right? However it shows up in the moment. And I want to share with you a reading from Aldous Huxley. He's a pioneer in the human potential movement, great thinker. And he says, at the very end of his life, toward the very end of his human existence, he said, people often ask me, what is the most effective technique for transforming my life? And then he said, you know what? It's a little embarrassing that after years and years of research and experiments, I have to say that the best answer to that question is just be a little kinder. Our transformation comes from tapping into that place within us that is just a little kinder. And you know what? Don't we know what kinder feels like? Don't we know what it feels like when we're not being kind or kinder in a situation? The energy of that feels very different when we're not being that kindness. And actually, you know what? The evolution of our humanity, our entire species, is based on kindness. Do you realize that it's not really the survival of the fittest at all? It's the survival of the kindest and the most cooperative. And it is true in spiritual communities. It is true in families. It is true in friendships. It is true on our planet. This idea of the kindest, most cooperative way to be present with each other from a level of the heart is exactly the answer that we all need. So here's your invitation. Remember that living from a heart space, it's a choice. You get to choose. You get to choose the way that you show up moment by moment. And every single moment is emerging curriculum. Every single moment you get to bring forth that sacred, holy instant that is going to make a difference in your life journey. And everything, absolutely everything that happens is part of your human curriculum, the course of the way of the heart. Remember, the way of the heart is patient, it's kind, it doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it's not proud, it's humble. Remember, when you leave here today, see everything as a holy encounter. I, thou. Try to stay out of your head. I, it. No. I, thou. I, thou. I, thou. That's the way of the heart. And if nothing else, we can just say, you know what? Here at Common Ground, our religion is kindness. Just be a little bit kinder, and you're going to go a long way. Where love is, there God is also. Thank you for listening. And so today, while you've been with us, we hope that you've heard something, felt something, seen something that made a difference to you, that you can take with you. Come to the time of our offering, and we'd like to remind you that Common Ground is always supported